years now, through both major political parties, the world's billionaires have directed U.S. policy for their own personal profit. This has included agreements like NAFTA, CAFTA, and the World Trade Organization, falsely portrayed as supporting free trade, but in reality, promoting free investment, overturning U.S. laws, and putting our workers in competition with those in the third world. Our government has assisted giant corporations in driving down wages and driving up profits by subsidizing the exporting of American jobs and the importation and exploitation of millions of illegal immigrants. They have used NAFTA to drive down wages in this country by exporting our manufacturing jobs to Mexico. Then they have subsidized giant agribusiness in exporting corn to Mexico, undercutting Mexican family farmers and driving them off the land. Giant agribusiness has then bought up the land, driving Mexicans across the border in search of work, further depressing wages in a spiral to the bottom. NAFTA has destroyed the quality of life on both sides of the Rio Grande. Corporate control of our government has also resulted in a series of wars, from Iraq to Bosnia to Kosovo to Afghanistan to Iraq again. Wars which are never in the interest of those fighting them or of the families left behind. Wars which only serve the insatiable greed of the global investor class. Corporate power over our political system, over the media, and over most aspects of our lives is the greatest danger we face today. Curtailing this power and restoring it to we the people is our greatest challenge. Until this is done, nothing else of great value is possible. Those of us who dedicate our lives to peace, economic justice, and environmental preservation can make little progress in our struggles so long as ultimate power is in the hands of those who profit from war, poverty, and pollution. Well, I didn't get here tonight by taking corporate millions. I didn't get here by selling myself to the oil companies, the pharmaceutical companies, the insurance companies. To be quite honest, I'm not sure how I got here. But here I am, and as long as I am President of the United States, this government will serve the needs of the people, not the greeds of the wealthy elite. Now, turning things around won't be easy. What our Constitution empowers me to change, I shall. But for much of what needs doing, I'll need the cooperation of you in Congress, and I ask for it tonight. The Constitution here does not make me the decider. Only the proposer and the implementer. You, the people's representatives, are the deciders. But I warn you, if you continue to ignore your constitutional responsibility to serve your constituents and instead serve yourselves and the big money interests you are indebted to, I will go over your heads to the American people and ask them to retire all of you, regardless of party, who ignore the Constitution and attempt to continue this corrupt, corporate-dominated state. We must sever the connection between big money and political power. Now this means electoral reform and media reform. The latter can be done now. I have ordered the Federal Communications Commission to reinstate the fairness doctrine and equal time rules. I've also asked them to re-implement the ban on multiple ownership. A free press is incompatible with corporate domination. To have democracy, you need two things. The people need a choice, a real choice, and you need an informed electorate, not a brainwashed electorate. Now, electoral reform is a little more complicated. The immediate need is for paper ballots. All means of voting which do not result in a paper ballot, which can be counted, recounted, and audited as necessary, violate the constitutional principle of one person, one vote, and are therefore unconstitutional. All such systems must be replaced before the next election in 2008. Now, we also need instant runoff voting, proportional representation, the elimination of burdensome petition requirements for qualifying third-party and independent candidates, making Election Day a federal holiday, and true campaign finance reform. Now, we can't have true finance reform so long as corporations can claim a First Amendment free speech right to spend as much money on campaigns as they want. We must restore the original intent of the Constitution. I therefore propose an amendment saying, quote, corporations and other fictitious entities are not persons under this Constitution. And shall have none of the rights and privileges thereof, unquote. Now, once we separate big money and political power, everything becomes possible. In this richest of nations, we can and will guarantee every American access to a good education, a decent job at a living wage, health care, and the undiluted protections of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. Fear of terrorism is not going to make this country a police state. Now, some may disagree with me, particularly my libertarian friends and supporters, but I believe that the general welfare clause of this Constitution empowers the government to guarantee basic health care to all Americans. But we cannot and will not continue borrow and spend budgets which burden our grandchildren with trillions in debt. The only fiscally responsible way to provide universal health care is to kick the insurance companies out of health care altogether. This eliminates their overhead, their profit, which amounts to about half of every health care dollar, their bean counting, their interference between doctor and patient. I therefore propose a doctor-run, single-payer national health program. between those practicing holistic and natural medicine with the pill pushers. Now, as a step toward the living wage, I propose that the minimum wage be indexed for inflation, and over a 10-year period be raised to what it would have been had it been so indexed when it was created, which means about $14 an hour in 2006 dollars. I also propose a change in corporate law, which currently requires CEOs and directors to maximize profits for shareholders above all else. The new law should recognize corporate responsibility as well to its workers, its community, its environment, and society at large. Now, as you undoubtedly know, the previous administration resigned under threat of impeachment. But this was, of course, over their exploitation of the 9/11 tragedy to deceive this nation into unnecessary and illegal wars of aggression. The evidence of their guilt was overwhelming. This evidence is in the PNAC document calling for the permanent occupation of Iraq, justified by a new Pearl Harbor. It is in Richard Clarke's book, in which he notes an immediate attempt by the Bush administration to tie Iraq to 9/11, regardless of the facts. It is in videotaped statements of Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld themselves, using 9/11 to justify the Iraq War. Some of these occurring as late as 4 months ago. It is in CIA documents showing that Wolfowitz, Pearl, Libby, Feith, and others cherry-picked intelligence for use by Cheney and their other bosses. It is in the Downing Street memo, which says that the intelligence was being tailored to fit the policy. And it is in speeches by me and others prior to the invasion of Iraq, in which we laid out the truth, predicted the inevitable results, and noted that such an invasion would be an impeachable offense and an act